So yeah, my name's Scott Lynch, and just as a note, my office is actually here at 2112. We are actually anchored over there. We will actually have we have some headsets if you want to see some of our work after the presentations and things wrap up. Make sure to see us over there. We'll show you some of this stuff. Next slide. So my background is in filmmaking. I started filmmaking back in the early 2000s. And so a lot of my interests in immersive media really came out of my interest in storytelling. And what I started to realize is that it was the way I was using cinema and traditional cameras in kind of the first half of my career was something that XR could really do well. Like I always wanted to show what it felt to be somewhere, or what it was like to travel to a different place. And this is something that XR does incredibly well. And so I actually pivoted my career from filmmaking to XR starting in 2016. I did a commercial for Fiat. Somebody asked me if I knew how to stitch, and I was like, I can figure it out. And so that kind of shot me off on a trajectory to where I am today. So we're gonna play some content and
Sure.
some BTS of the kind of work that we do. So we primarily have traditionally worked in 360 video. That felt for us like a really great way to show real world content without the limited processing power that you kind of get in standalone headsets. So we really kind of focus on 360 video, but that's pivoted where we now will use a whole spectrum of technologies, whether it's 360 video cameras, whether it's Gaussian splats, whether we're working with AI, we're working with mixed reality now. We also work a lot with the Unreal Engine, a lot in 5.5 now. So as I think about media and entertainment moving forward, we see a lot of interest in doing interactive, immersive content. Both like for now, if you look here, this is a project that we did for Samsung. So a lot of it's using it for training. So we're finding a lot of success both with the clients that we work with as they deploy this for all of their different goals. Like the ROI that they're getting on some of these projects is quite impressive, just because the way you as a viewer interact with the content is so much more personal that like it matters more, the content, than it like just like a video that's playing or something that you're going to scroll past. So this kind of just shows some of the different techniques that we use. Like it's a lot of work to put together something. It's a lot of cleanup, but really the end result is you get this very seamless experience that feels natural, and that's really what we keep going towards. Another project that we worked on last year was the first television show type of series that was ever made for VR headsets. This was The Faceless Lady. It was produced by Eli Roth, who is a horror director. And this is a 6-part series that his company produced in partnership with Meta. And so this is kind of just a couple of clips of some of the cleanup and behind the scenes things that our team had worked on for that project. But we're really seeing this interest in doing more high-end entertainment for XR content. As we talk about adoption being an issue, some of the things is like there's hardware, but sometimes you run out of things to do. So that's kind of like where we really feel like we fit into the industry, is that we are really helping these companies provide content so that people spend more time in this space. So that was my short presentation, and then I think we're going to move to like a Q&A.
Yes, we are. Give me a few seconds here because I need to. Actually, Scott. So, quick question for you. You already answered kind of how you got into this. Are you seeing more attention at this point on the creative projects where you're creating, essentially TV series, and as you were saying, the more creative projects that are for entertainment based, or are you more commercial, where you're actually working with companies and producing things for them that are expected to have an ROI?
Good question. If you had asked me this question 6 months ago, I would have said we are primarily 80% industrial or enterprise type of content. Over the past 6 months, I've seen a strong shift in the entertainment industry wanting to utilize our services in some capacity. Kind of started off with doing some of like the Faceless Lady project, but that's really kind of snowballed into a lot of things we've been doing recently are for virtual production, which is a technique that's used inside of the film industry where they use massive LED screens like this, but like a whole room, and creating content for that, whether that's driving plays or whether that's environments. And then even this week, I probably had, I don't know, 3 or 4 different people reach out more about entertainment style projects for this medium. So I think we might be starting to see a shift from the enterprise world, which is generally where the projects were, and it's now starting to shift more into consumer. And then we as a company are starting to shift our focus from just serving the enterprise side of things, and thinking more about sort of direct-to-consumer products or direct-to-consumer applications that we are going to develop internally to then release. We're starting to see that market finally be fertile after 8 years now.
Always takes longer. Okay, so next question for you, because again, this event is about industry outlook.
Yeah.
So where do you see things going? Where, if you had to look forward 5 years, 10 years, what are you sort of expecting? What do you, and again, no one's going to hold you to these predictions, but where do you see things going in the next 5 or 10 years in terms of, I'll say obviously specifically the film within VR?
Yeah, well, really the biggest impact that we see happening right now is like the impact of AI with like video generation, VFX, and also like customization of that video content for users. So we as a company are starting to lean more into these kind of more cutting edge tools that are just starting to come out of the market. We really think that that's gonna, like AI specifically, I'll say it right now, but I think it's gonna totally eat the bottom half of the video and film world. Like that's all going to become mostly AI generated content, and kind of the high end stuff will still be done with like cameras and people on sets and things like that. But you're going to really, I think that's gonna, if you're kind of in mid market right now, there's going to be a lot of people that can generate stuff that looks as good as you can shoot, that they can just prompt. And so I think you just need to be aware of that kind of thing. But I think it's also going to affect how spatial stuff gets made, because we need AI to just power all this content, whether it's Gaussian splats or spatial environments. Like we need AI because there's just not enough labor to create that content. So it's going to like really impact the 2D film world, but it's going to really open up the possibilities in the spatial world.
So I'm going to dig in on that question that we just said there, just one, for another minute or so, if you could. Yeah. Let's talk about not so much AI just being used to generate, but AI being used essentially as a tool to aid the manual creation process of editing. How are you guys using that?
Well, recently we actually started a new company called, what's it? Yeah. So we started just a brand new company called Local recently, that really is focusing on scanning spaces as a platform. And so we are leaning a lot into Gaussian splats, which are this new rendering technique for capturing real spaces and turning it into essentially really good looking 3D models. Well, it's not models, but it's representation of 3D space in a way that looks good. And so we are really, that's powered by AI models, and so we're really seeing that as like a big part of the future. And we basically started a new company to really just focus on optimizing workflows and platforms for that specific technology.